What is going on, you guys? Miss Lepar here, back again with another really interesting suit ideas and abilities video. Now, if you're not familiar with this series, this goes way back to the start of the Spider-Man PS4 content, where I talk about a certain costume that I would like to see in Marvel's Spider-Man, and I talk about the suit and the ideas that I have with that suit, and I pretty much apply it all together and kind of tell you what I want to see. The Spider-Lizard costume, I always wanted to do this costume. Now, you guys are probably saying, like, wow, like, this costume, like, how would this even be possible in Marvel's Spider-Man 2? Well, I'm going to tell you something, that anything is pretty much possible in the video game world. Like, we didn't even know that we were going to be getting Spider-Punk with that really cool guitar ability, and we didn't even know that we were going to be getting that Iron Spider ability. So pretty much anything's possible in the video game world. Now, the Spider-Lizard first appeared in the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 40, where Spider-Man ended up turning into the Lizard, and Curt Connors had to actually track down the Beast and find a cure to restore Spider-Man back to normal. Spider-Lizard was able to escape, and he ended up retreating into a nearby sewer gate, and he ended up slipping past the police. And what happened was, a Spider-Lizard would come across Dr. Connors, and Dr. Connors literally went face to face with the creature, and after a brief struggle, Connors managed to pour an antidote down the Spider-Lizard's gullet, making it revert back to Spider-Man. And Spidey quickly recovered, and it was really interesting how he ended up recovering, because everybody thought like he was just tearing down everything. He went completely insane, and he ended up, getting saved by Dr. Connors. So it was kind of like reversed. It wasn't Spider-Man saving Dr. Connors, it was Dr. Connors saving Spider-Man. So it's a really interesting story, and I think this kind of costume would be fantastic. If we end up getting the Lizard in the Marvel Spider-Man 2 somehow, some way, I think it would be really cool to apply this storyline and maybe even add it into the video game. But if they don't end up doing that, I think the Spider-Lizard costume would be a fine addition to Marvel Spider-Man 2, and it would really show like how they could end up doing this, and you could probably just like transform into him, and you could just run around for a couple seconds or do whatever you need to do. But I think, the abilities like having like claws and stuff, you're able to swim underwater, like that kind of stuff would be really interesting, because I know in Marvel Spider-Man 1, when you're swimming around, and there's not really much to it, but if you turn into the Spider-Lizard and there's like actual combat in the water and stuff, I think it would be a really cool ability if you could use the Spider-Lizard in a certain way where you could take down criminals. Maybe you're on a boat, maybe you're doing like missions in the water. I think it would just be really interesting to see that play out. And another ability would be the claws, because the claws, if you're just jumping in the air, I think it would be really cool if you can climb walls, kind of like Ultimate Spider-Man as Venom, but you could use those claws. And definitely with the tail would be really interesting to see, because you could end up using that Spider-Lizard tail, and you could just like whip around and just completely annihilate criminals and stuff. Like, this would be something that would be really interesting to see. And Spider-Lizard, in my opinion, is just one of those characters that it's really unique, because we've never really seen it before, and I think we've only seen it in like, Earth 65, where another Peter Parker ended up actually becoming the Lizard in an alternate reality. So like, you could actually do so many different things with this costume, but to see a ripped up Spider-Man suit and you're playing as the Lizard, pretty much running around, I think that would be really cool. And maybe they could add in some kind of like challenges, kind of like the Amazing Spider-Man video games, where you could actually play as the villains. Like, that would be really interesting to see. So it would be really cool to see how they would end up doing that. And if they end up having Curt Connors in Marvel Spider-Man 2, maybe like he turns back to normal, maybe he's good again, but maybe Spider-Man somehow becomes the Lizard for a bit in the video game. Like, that's something that would be really interesting to see. But like, it would be really nice if we ended up getting those kind of abilities like super jump, crawling, and I don't know how it would actually work with web swinging, but if you're Spider-Lizard, I think it would be really interesting to see if you could web swing as a lizard. We probably wouldn't be able to. You'd mostly be on the ground, but it would be really cool to see how, citizens would react to that kind of monstrosity, you know, on the police. Like, I don't know what would happen, but it would just be really interesting to see Spider-Man become the Lizard, and if he ended up turning into SpiderLizard, I think it would be really interesting to see. So that's kind of like my thoughts on like if we ended up getting SpiderLizard in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and I think, you know, for suit ideas and abilities, this series ended up happening like almost 2 years ago, so I always wanted to do the SpiderLizard costume, so it's really interesting to see me finally bring back the series now and kind of talk about these kind of costumes that you guys are actually requesting, because this was actually requested to somebody on Twitter wanted me to actually do this costume, so I ended up having to do it. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the SpiderLizard, and do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But anyways, as always, guys, peace out.